Well, this seems timely. Vince likes to say anything can happen in WWE, but usually that means anything can happen in WWE on the telly. After all, monumental things tend not to happen on untelevised house shows, which is not to rain on house shows. Often they're more fun than Raw because the superstars get to muck around and enjoy themselves, but the biggest matches are reserved for global broadcast, right? Well, turns out, not always. I'm Plumpy from WhatCulture.com, and here are the 10 biggest WWE house show matches ever. Number 10. Oh, actually, before we start, here are two matches that are not on the list. Hulk Hogan winning his first WWF title against The Sheik in 1984, and Bret Hart winning his first WWF title against Ric Flair in 1992. Both were untelevised, but neither technically took place at house shows. The card that had the Hogan-Sheik Madison Square Garden match, that was filmed for broadcast on the Madison Square Garden network, and the Hart-Flair match was filmed for a Coliseum video called Smack 'em Whack 'em. So what I'm saying is, pushing my glasses up my nose, I think you'll find this list is entirely accurate. Anyway, number 10, AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens. Let's kick off with the most recent, shall we? Can we? Yes. On the 7th of July, AJ Styles won the WWE United States Championship from Kevin Owens at a WWE house show at Madison Square Garden, a decision made all the more bizarre considering Styles had just won a #1 Contenders Battle Royal on the past week's SmackDown Live to face Owens at Battleground. Now it looks like the roles of champion and challenger will be reversed at the pay-per-view in Philadelphia. Now sure, it renders the Battle Royal pointless, and sure, it robs the majority of WWE's fans the excitement of watching AJ dethrone Owens live. But hey, it was Madison Square Garden. WWE likes to throw a special, sexy party whenever it's in its spiritual home. And yes, you're right, an MSG house show will feature later on this list. Congratulations, you know wrestling, you're a special sausage. Number 9, Bret Hart and 1-2-3 Kid versus Owen Hart and Shawn Michaels. Now just you look at those four names and tell me you're not pregnant now. In 1994 as well, when all four men were at the top of their game. It's a tag match that's absolutely pay-per-view worthy, and they hid it away on a house show in February in Wisconsin. Considering that Bret and Owen were just a month removed from their classic at WrestleMania 10, Shawn was limbering up for his classic ladder match and Kid was fresh off a tag title reign, it's Jack the Jobber having 50,000 Twitter followers levels of baffling that it didn't at least make it to television, never mind pay-per-view. Number 8, Shawn Michaels and Batista versus Triple H and Ric Flair. For months after WrestleMania 21, when Big Dick Large Chops Fat One Big Billy Batista beat Triple H for his World Championship, Dave and Nosy Paul tangled endlessly on Raw and pay-per-view, which makes it all the more bizarre that this match was never televised. All four men's careers intertwined so much that at least on Raw, it writes itself. Fair play, Batista and Michaels faced off against Triple H and Kurt Angle on Raw, but that went 7 minutes, whereas this house show match went goddamn 27. Who were the lucky people who got to see it play out? That would be the good, shouty, police horse fighting people of Newcastle, What Culture's hometown, the land of the free, the home of the Gregs. Number 7, Bret Hart vs. Ric Flair Iron Man match. In January 1993, in Boston Garden, another prestigious arena, Ric Flair vs. Bret Hart tangled for 1 hour in an Iron Man match with Bobby the Brain Heenan at ringside. Thanks very much, I'll take 10. Spoilers, WWF champion Hart would defeat the Nature Boy by 3 falls to 2, with the first fall not arriving until the half-hour mark. As that would suggest, this is one of those slow-build, methodical Iron Man matches that might seem tame when compared to the frenetic modern iterations, but goddamn, Flair vs. Hart doing an hour. If you can stomach it, the whole thing was filmed by a fan on what appears to be a drunk potato, but hey, at least it's all on YouTube. Number 6, Kane, The Undertaker and Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero, Edge and Kurt Angle. Well, the people of Saitama, Japan sure got their money's worth, didn't they? In July 2005, WWE held a joint Raw and SmackDown Super Show in the land of the rising sun, and Christ, it was stacked. It had Michaels and Jericho going 30 minutes, Batista defending the World Heavyweight Championship in a street fight against Triple H, but we've seen both of those singles matches. The 6-man tag pitting Eddie, Edge and Angle against Rey and the Brothers of Destruction, not so much. This one ended with a triple pin, according to reports, with simultaneous chokeslams from the Bros on Edge and Angle, complemented by a sit-down splash from Rey on Eddie. However, what made it memorable in Japan was the shenanigans that took place after the match, as Kane allowed a Japanese version of himself into the ring who tried to light the turnbuckles but couldn't. Oh, lol for days. Number 5, Eddie Guerrero versus The Undertaker. And speaking of 2005, gosh, it was quite the little year for house show matches that should have been used to draw ching ching bling bling cut the cheddar on pay-per-view. Being two of the perennial babyfaces on SmackDown back in the day, Eddie Guerrero and The Undertaker would often team up to take on the likes of JBL and a Dudley Boy or two to close house shows. However, when Latino Heat turned heel in the summer of 2005 in the midst of the Rey Mysterio feud, you know, the one about who owned the child, he would take on the dead man 4 times at house shows, losing all 4 of those matches. Former WWE referee Jimmy Corderas has commented that Guerrero produced some of the best heel work he'd ever seen during these bouts. It could have headlined a pay-per-view easy, but it was restricted to a run of 4 house shows in August 2005. Lucky bastards. Number 4, Randy Savage versus The Undertaker. Oh, what could have been. These matches stemmed from a program involving Undertaker and Ultimate Warrior that saw the frantic, screaming rocket fuel fella go over the dead man more times than Maggle shouts the word vintage. I hate you, Michael. I hate you so much. That's not true. I like Michael Cole. However, when Warrior wasn't available to dance, Macho Man Randy Savage would take his place and win, such as the unofficial wrestling house show rule when a substitute always wins. Taker and the Madness stepped into the ring on at least 3 occasions over the course of the summer 1991, with all 3 ending in the same result. But I mean, Randy Savage versus The Undertaker. I want to see that match. Number 3, Shinsuke Nakamura versus Samoa Joe. Captain Sexy Weird became only the 2nd ever 2-time NXT champion by defeating Samoa Joe at a house show in Osaka, Japan at the tail end of last year, before the full match was shown on the December 28th episode of NXT. Now, it's a grey area. The event was definitely a house show. It was marketed as such, but the match was filmed with a view to being broadcast, you know, like the Hogan Sheik one or the HART FLAIR one. But you know what? I'm including it. Suck my dick. After losing the title to Samoan Joseph at TakeOver Toronto, the King of Strong Style regained that championship courtesy of a Kinshasa. This would be the 2nd time the developmental brand's top title would change hands when the cameras weren't rolling in 2016, leading on to number 2, Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor, Lowell, Massachusetts. It's a house show that has since become infamous for one simple reason. The NXT Championship changed hands when absolutely nobody was expecting it. Joe took the title from Finn Balor at a seeming nothing show, pinning the Demon King clean in the middle of the ring and ending a record-breaking reign of 292 days. The reaction across the internet went from, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" all the way to, "Oh my god, why didn't you do that in Dallas, you fucking bastards!" Regardless of how you felt about it, it caused a giant reaction. There could be no doubt it's probably the most significant house show match to have happened for 22 years. What happened 22 years earlier? Well, number 1, Bob Backlund versus Diesel. Before Samoa Joe's win in Lowell, this was the last time a main event title changed hands on a house show in Madison Square Garden, where evidently WWE likes to get kooky-wooky with its title changes. Diesel jackknife powerbomb Bob Backlund to win his first major singles title just 3 days after Bobby had taken the title from Bret Hart at Survivor Series 94. Not only that, the match only lasted 8 goddamn seconds. With Vince protecting the Hitman, Backlund was used as a placeholder to get the title on Big Daddy Cool. It was a seismic event in the history of WWE, and weirdly, this slightly shoddy ringside footage is all we'll ever see.